everyone, this is Erin Gates with Three Birds Yarn Studio and Lizzie Knits. And today's video is a follow-up to our in-store class titled Learn to Knit a Garter Stitch Scarf. So this is a complete beginner's class designed for knitters who have aspiring knitters who have never knit before or trying to brush up on your skills, or if you haven't knit in a long time. But this is a very simple textured scarf. I love using this stitch for beginners because we only deal with the knit stitch. There's no purling, there's no other stitch combinations to remember. You are only doing the knit stitch in every single stitch, both sides. And when you only use the knit stitch, you get this little stripy horizontal texture that's kind of stretchy, and when it's all put together, this is called the garter stitch. This texture is garter stitch. Okay, so if you took the class in the shop, you probably got a kit with a little like itinerary here and plan. There's 7 steps. We also got 3 full skeins of Lion Brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick. The label kind of looks like that, and we are using skeins that come with 106 yards. You can find that every label tells you how many yards are in this skein right here, 106. This exact yarn comes in multicolor options, and then there's not as many yards in those skeins. So just something to look out for if you're trying to make a second scarf or anything. Just know that when you get a multicolored, you don't get as much yarn. That's why we're sticking to solids for this class. Okay, so we get 3 skeins of the yarn, a set of US 13 needles, and 1 tapestry needle, which we will use later. Okay, so this is a follow-up video for, if you got home and you forgot what we talked about in class, you need another refresher. Also, a key thing about this class is there's 7 steps, but we can't get to them all in one night. So this is a follow-up at home for a few skills on how to finish up your scarf, how to add like the second and third skeins into like a really like minimal join, and weaving in your ends and finishing everything at home. So let's get started with step 1, and that is the cast on. All right, so step 1 here is the long tail cast on, and there's many ways to cast on, but I'm going to teach you the long tail cast on. It's my favorite, and I think it looks the prettiest, and it's nice and stretchy and lays nice, so that's what I like to use. All right, so you're going to need just one of your needles for the cast on, and you're going to hold that needle in your right hand. So let's just set that down for a second, kind of on the right side, and grab your yarn. Find the tail, and let's just pull out like an arm's length of yarn. This is totally an estimate. When I do cast-ons, it's, I'm generous in the amount that I pull out of to start with. I'd rather have extra at the end than run out of yarn halfway through the cast-on, because that's frustrating. So we can always trim an extra tail at the end. Okay, so here's my starting point, kind of arm's length-ish. And let's make that into a little loop. So this loop, I'm just holding it in your left hand. And on the right side here is my tail. And the left strand here is the one attached to the yarn. And this is called the working yarn. So tail, I have tail because it's just cut, that's the end, and working yarn. All right, we're going to, pick up your needle now with your right hand and put it underneath the loop and through. Basically, so the strand that is the tail, you want it in the front. The strand that is the working yarn attached to the yarn ball, that's in the back. So it looks like this. Okay, so let's show you the long tail cast on process in just a second, but before, just to get us started and get this yarn kind of like anchored and ready to go, we got to do one little step first. So we're just going to do this one time. So just hold on to the yarn, both strands, and we're going to put a twist. So bring the needle close to your body, kind of point it at you, put it down, under, up. And now we just have a simple little twist in the yarn. Okay, now we can get started doing the long tail cast on. This is getting us started, and as a bonus, this is actually stitch 1, so we got 1 stitch out of the way. And now let's work on the actual long tail cast on. Okay, so what I like to do also, this twist you can see is kind of like floppy, flimsy. I'm just gonna like pinch it with my right hand, because all your right hand is doing in this process is just holding the needle. All the work, all the work is done with your left hand. Okay, so I've got them set up, tail on the right, working yarn on the left. Okay, for your left hand, we're going to be working with our thumb and pincher fingers. I want to take the other 3 fingers, the bottom 3 fingers, and hold the yarn, but leave these 2 out. Okay, and I'm just kind of pinching that twist up here just so it doesn't travel down. Oops, see it did. So there, let's get my twist just back up here and I'll pinch it. Okay, we're good to go. So now with there's 2 strands here, with your pincher fingers, put them both in between the 2 strands, like facing downwards. And when you like spread your fingers apart, it's kind of like a little diamond. Okay, and the next step, we're gonna flip your left hand outwards, like out to the left side of your body. So we'll kind of palm up now. Okay, and you see I'm still holding on to those yarns. All right, so we got like now 2 loops. We got 1 on the thumb, 1 on the pointer finger. And let's just take a second. I'd like you to view this as we have 4 strands we're looking at. So here's strand 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, take the tip of the needle and put it under strand 1. Okay, then we're going to put it over strand 3. And we're kind of grabbing strand 3. And we're using the needle to bring it towards you, and we want to bring strand 3 out. We want to bring it through that loop on your thumb. Okay, so cool. It's through the loop and it's on the needle. And that's the stitch. We have a stitch on the needle. So let's just kind of nicely let go of everything. It looks like a mess. It will. Now take the 2 little ends. One of them's going to tighten up a lot. That's my tail. And just give it a little wiggle, a tighten, a wiggle. Okay. Now we have 2 strands on. Ooh, that was 1 stitch. We got 2 stitches on the needle. One thing, we're tightening it up. Don't tighten it so like yank on it so hard. We want to have these like not falling off the needle, but loose enough where we're going to pick it up on the next row. But if they're so tight on the needle, it's going to be really hard to knit your first row. So just keep that in mind. Okay, let's do that again. That was probably a lot of info. Okay, so let's start totally over. We got 2 strands, tail on the right, working yarn on the left. I'm taking these bottom 3 fingers and grabbing the yarn. My pincher fingers, we're going to push them both through between the 2 strands facing downward. You can spread your fingers a little bit, and you're going to flip your hand outwards. So kind of palm up now. Remember, there's strands 1, 2, 3, 4. Put your needle under strand 1. Okay, reach over, put the needle over strand 3, and we're grabbing it and using the needle to bring it through the loop on your thumb. Okay, you see? And now look at that's the next stitch. That's the next stitch that's on the needle. And we don't need this stuff, all this stuff anymore. You can like lightly let go, start tightening a little bit. Okay, we got a 3rd stitch. Let's jump in and do another one. Grab the yarn with your bottom 3 fingers, pointer fingers, push between the strands downward. Flip your hand outward to the left. Put the needle under strand 1. Over strand 3 to grab it and pull it through that loop that's on your thumb. That's the 4th stitch. Let go, tighten up a bit. Okay, let's do stitch 5. Okay, grab with your 3 bottom fingers, pincher fingers, push them through and flip your hand outward. we're going to go under strand 1, over strand 3, pull it through that loop on your thumb. The stitch is now on the needle, and we can let go and kind of tighten it and clean it up a bit. One more time. Grab with your bottom 3 fingers, pinch yours down, flip your hand outward, under strand 1, over strand 3, pull it through the loop on your thumb. Okay, and we kind of tightened it up a bit. Okay, there we go. So I just did 6 stitches. For this class, we want 20. Okay, so we got 6. Let's do a couple more. And once you get more comfortable, see, I didn't even let go of the yarn that time. This will come in time, just with being more comfortable. Under strand 1, over strand 3, and you can move your left hand around to like accommodate it, and you can get like faster at it. Oops, under strand 3, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. But don't worry if you're not fast at it. You can let go every time, set up again, grab the yarn, pinch your fingers through, down, flip your hand outward, under strand 1, over strand 3, pull it through, let go, tighten up. So however you decide to do it, fast, slow, you will get the same results. And really, the long tail cast on takes practice. So please, if you want to go back to the bookmarked part on this video and watch again and restart just until you're confident in it before moving on to step 2. Like, I highly encourage you just to keep practicing. And if you get to the end and it's like doesn't look uniform like this, like, feel free, just take it all off and start fresh. Like, there's no harm in starting your projects over or just redoing it, okay? So once you have 20 stitches, we can continue on to step 2, and that is the knitting part. Okay, so now moving on with step 2, once we have 20 stitches cast on, we're ready to knit and just get this scarf going. Okay, so we will be using the second needle from now on. Okay, so let's flip. When you got done with your cast on, your needle was on your right side and working yarn on the left. But for now, when you start knitting, we want your existing stitches to be on the left. Okay, and we're going to have like the empty needle on the right. This is the start of every row, because the concept with knitting is we're going to work with 1 stitch at a time. So that means the step I'm going to show you, we're going to do it 20 times per row, and we're going to take an existing stitch, and a stitch is basically just a little loop. So we're going to take the existing stitch, make a new stitch in this loop, and put it on the right needle. And we're going to do that 1 at a time. Well, let's put that back. Okay. All right. So, and depending how much, it looks like this once you're done with your cast on. You've got the tail, and like I said earlier, it's like extra is fine. Extra's fine. We just don't like to run out while you're doing the cast on. So we can deal with this at the end. You will not do anything with the tail from now on. Just leave it alone. And make sure though, when you're knitting and we're wrapping with the working yarn, don't start knitting accidentally with the tail. I've done it plenty of times, but trying to not grab this yarn at all. You're going to be working with the yarn that's attached to the skein. When you start a new row, because basically you see how I finished, bump the camera, I finished a row, then I have to flip it to start a fresh row. So I have all my stitches on the left. The working yarn is hanging out the bottom, and sometimes it looks like it's coming like in the front, you know, like it wants to hang out the front. Your job at the start of every row is to make sure that yarn goes under and it's hanging out in the back. That's how we start knit stitches, with the yarn in the back. So at this, it's almost like each side edge of your scarf is going to have a little like edge of yarn that wraps around the sides. That's this. We're taking it and moving to the back, and that's kind of rounding the side of your scarf. So you'll see it as you make progress. Okay. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you in a sec, but I want to point out that there are so many different techniques of knitting, and the main thing that beginners need to figure out is if they want to hold the yarn in your left hand or in the right. Both are correct. There's continental style and English style. I am a continental knitter. I like to hold the yarn in my left hand. English style is where you hold the yarn in the right hand, and I wish I could demonstrate it correctly, but I'm not comfortable with it. I urge you as we get started to try both ways and what seems better to you. I teach left-handed. Also, I'm left-handed, so this kind of felt more correct to me. I like to teach continental, like left-handed knitting, because you have the capability when you're experienced, you actually knit faster if you hold the yarn in your left. So this is going to be something that you will have to develop your own style. Okay, but for all these tutorials, this tutorial, I will be holding the yarn in my left. All right, so let's get the knit stitch. The knit stitch. Like I said, we are working with stitches one at a time. So first up is this one, and I have an empty needle here that needs some stitches on it. So what you do, we're going to put the right hand needle through the stitch. I want to come to the left side of the needle, left side of this stitch. Okay, so far left side. I'm going to put this, get a little closer. Far left side, I want to get the tip of this needle through into the back. That way, see, it's going in the middle of the stitch. Okay, so right hand needle is in. I wrap the yarn around the right needle away from me. Okay, so the wrap that I just did, that's going to be the new stitch. We want to use the right needle to kind of use the tip of it to bring that new wrap through the loop and onto the right needle. So that's the new stitch, and we don't need this one anymore. Maybe a little similar to the cast on, where we're kind of grabbing the yarn and bringing it through a loop. Let's do that with the next stitch. Like I said, the tail might be bothersome at the beginning, but when you get a couple rows going, you won't even notice the tail. Like, it'll be just doing its own thing. Okay, next up is this stitch. I use the right needle to go to the far left side of the stitch, kind of put it under that strand of yarn and through to the back. Okay, you can see it is in between, it is in the loop of the stitch. Wrap the yarn around the right needle away from you. And this again is where you're going to have to get comfortable. Like I use my right index finger to just hold it while because you also see I'm sliding my right needle down a little bit just so it'll come out through that loop. And we're using the right needle to grab that loop and pull it through the old stitch. And now we don't need the old stitch. Okay, we got 2 stitches. Let's do this again with stitch number 3. Push this far left side of the stitch through to the back. Wrap the yarn away from you. Now, we're going to use the tip of the right needle to pull that new loop through the old stitch. Okay, it's through. Now we don't need the old stitch. Okay, let's do it again. Far left side, into the back, wrap away from you, pull it through like towards your body, and we're taking that new stitch on the right needle. Now it's through. See, it's coming out inside the loop. And now we don't need that old stitch. Okay, far right side, push it through the back, wrap away from you. Kind of and really adjusting, like the needles slide, like they can slide, like that's kind of how you get a fluid motion with all this, and this will take time. Okay, and take this very slow, just so you're kind of learning the process and how it feels in your hands. Okay, we got the new stitch on the needle, out through that loop. Goodbye, old stitch. See, through the loop, wrap away from me. I'm bringing it through onto the right needle. Goodbye, old stitch. Okay, so there's a lot of like moving parts with the knit stitch. You will have to get comfortable with it. Take your time. If you're totally messed up, like, and feel free to just start totally fresh. Go watch the cast on video again, and let's start fresh. Like, you might take a few times to really get it, but repetition is the best way to learn. Your hands will start to get more comfortable as you keep doing it. Okay, push the needle through to the back. Remember, we're always grabbing it from the left. Push it through to the back, wrap away from you. Okay, we're going to take it through the old stitch. Okay, got that new stitch on there. Get rid of the old stitch. Okay, and then you can get a little faster. So this is how I look when I'm knitting. Like, both my hands are kind of doing the work. And I'm I knit with the yarn in my left. But just because I'm left-handed doesn't mean that I'm the only one that can knit with yarn in my left. It's a very popular technique. Okay, so, and again, I told you can hold it in the right. Also popular. I've never really gotten comfortable with it, but if you're struggling with yarn in your left hand, please give it a try. Like, I'm not right-handed, so like it feels awkward to me, but I've seen people, you put the needle through, and then I've known people who then take their hand off the needle and you like physically move your hand to wrap. This is English knitting. Okay, and I wish I could give you a better example. So like here, kind of hold, I wish I was better at this. And then do you see how I'm like, but you lift your whole hand to wrap, and then you get the new stitch that way. And when you're sliding the new stitch through, it is pretty easy. Like, you can almost, you know how I'm like pulling the new loop through, but do you see also, I'm also lifting the left needle up to kind of like widen the hole here that you're trying to pull through, you see, and like make it a little easier to grab that new loop. Okay, wrap away from me. And yeah, I guess I kind of lift the needle up and over, or not the needle, the left needle with the old loop, like, see it, like up and over. Okay. Or if you're comfortable doing it that first way, where this is grabbing it and then you want to just flick the old stitch off, all good. It is all good. Like, please practice this. Please pause, practice on your own, and then play again. Just like I said, repetition, and you will get more comfortable with this. Okay, so what we're gonna do, okay, I got to the end of the round, or the row. This is flat. End of the row. I did 20 stitches. So every time, now we got to flip it and do it again. Because when you're starting a new row, you want all your stitches, all the old stitches on the right side, and new fresh needle on the left, left side, new fresh needle on the right. So we're going to do the same thing again. And now my tail's over here because we're kind of one side, the other side. We're just kind of flipping back and forth, and that's just going to be the remainder of your project. And do you see how I said earlier, like the yarn wants to come out in the front? Put it around the tip of the needle so it's hanging out in the back, and it's kind of like rounding that edge. Yarn's ready in the back. Let's start doing the next row. Okay, oh, you might get here, a good example. You might get some stray strands of yarn. This happens all the time. You just kind of like flick it off, where it didn't catch every little fiber. Happens all the time. Or sometimes you accidentally like stab in between the yarn. I do that quite frequently when I'm not paying attention. So it's okay. You can just pull the needle back out. Try again. Yeah, if I stabbed it on accident, be like, oh, oops, just take the right needle out. Okay, let's try that again. So put the right needle in, wrap away from you, new stitch. Right needle in, wrap away from you, pull the new stitch through, goodbye old stitch. Okay, wrap away from you, pull it through, goodbye old stitch. And you'll start to see some progress. I'm going to pause this and I'm going to get some rows going, and I'll come back to show you what it's supposed to look like as it gets a little more established. So after you've done this for several rows, your piece is going to start looking like this. It's going to start looking like this with those horizontal little like stripes here. It's nice and stretchy, and this is the garter stitch. But if your stitches don't look even, or you've got like some loopy parts down here, or like it's got a little hole here, the main thing, like, I would not worry about it. Like, this is learning. Like, this will all come in time. Tension is almost something like how tight you hold your yarn and gets the consistency. That's something that can't really be taught. It really just comes with practice. So just keep practice. That's what we're doing here. Like, it's all good. The main thing I would like you to keep tabs on is just keep every once in a while, check to make sure you still have 20 stitches. Okay, because if you're dropping stitches, or sometimes you're like, I have 21 stitches, like that may also happen where you accidentally like grabbed a strand that you weren't supposed to and it ended up on the needle. So just kind of check in and count, be like, yep, still 20, still good. But if you start dropping stitches, or you look a couple rows down and you're like, I got something weird looking here, and be like, okay, you probably dropped a stitch, and your scarf will start to like shrink. It won't. So let's just keep check on that. And I'm going to step 4, if you do have like a bad spot and you want to rip it back. So just hold on or skip to step 4, because I'm going to show you what to do if you make a mistake and we need to fix it. Okay, so let's go on to joining a new skein of yarn. One more thing I want to mention, and before going on to joining yarn, is you want to knit this, do the same row after row until it reaches 70 inches. Okay, so here's my finished scarf. I like to knit my scarves 70 inches long. Just use a tape measure at home, or whatever you have. But the other thing is 70 inches is not like a requirement total. This is so customizable. So just try it on. Try your scarf on as you go. You'll be like, I think that's long enough. Then you're done. Then we can move on to the next part. So 70 inches is more like my guideline, but you can make scarves as long or as short as you would like. Okay, now moving on to joining a new skein of yarn. All right, as you're knitting your project, at some point, this yarn is going to run out. Like, I did give you 3 of them, so you're going to need to join the next one. I'm going to show you with pink yarn for this example. But let's say one of these ends, just bear with me a sec, I'm going to trim this. Let's say one of these ends is like the end. This is a new skein, and this is what's left attached to your knitting project. So like, okay, I'm running out of yarn. I need to join the new one. Okay, we're going to use the magic knot. This is my favorite way to join yarns. It's very secure. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It doesn't make a thick portion of yarn for a while that you have to hide in, and you don't have to weave in the tails later. So let's take the 2 strands, old and new, and you kind of overlap them kind of as like so. So basically, I'm going to take this end, tie it around here, and I'm going to take this end and tie it around here, and then they will slide. I'll show you. So wrap this, first we'll do this one. Wrap this one over, okay, under. We're going to make a single little knot around, so then we're making a knot around the full strand. So poke it through, that's a knot, and always make your knots so this tail is pointing away to the right, and then when I tie this on here, the tail is going to be pointing to the left. Okay, so I got my little end here, and we kind of want like a little bit sticking out, and we're going to trim it, but just so you, while we're tightening it, we kind of want to leave a little bit All right, we don't have to tighten it super quick just yet, or tight, I mean. Okay, so that's around that one, it's secure. This one, put it over, like that one, put it under. We're wrapping around and making a single knot around it. Okay, make a little knot, and see now this tail is pointing that way. Good. Tighten it just enough, and I'll tighten this one just enough. So this is the fun part here. Those long strands, this is like new yarn, this is old yarn attached to the project. It'll slide. So if we pull on these, it's going to slide, 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 slide. Ooh, and they meet in the middle. Yay, I love that part. Okay, so this strand, or this little end here, is attached to this. That's that yarn. So let's give this this is the time you pull it real tight, like real tight. Okay, that's super tight. Now this one that's the same yarn as here, so we can pull that tight. So tight. Okay. Double check. So tight. Tighter the better, but not so, well, sometimes when you use like thinner yarn, the yarn will break, so we don't want to pull it that tight. Okay, and give it another little, because we have two knots here that are going to be right up against each other. And then these long strands pull it, so they just like cinched up a little bit. They're right next to each other. The scissors come in handy. Okay, well, that's what it looks like. Take my teeny tiny scissors. I'm gonna you can trim them pretty close to the knot. Okay, so that's the tail I want to cut. Don't cut the working yarn though. Don't cut the long strands. Okay, I'm gonna trim that like there. Okay, get rid of that. Same thing with this tail. Okay, take my little scissors. I'm gonna trim it like that. Now here's the final test. You gotta do the final test before you move on, because sometimes it pops apart again. You gotta retry. So if I pull, oh, it worked. It should work. I am pulling very tight on this, and it's not budging. Okay, that is a strong, strong knot. It is teeny tiny. It's going to be in your project, but it will blend very well. Some joins are like more bulky and everything, harder to hide. I love this one. I mean, yes, there's a knot there, but it's about as uniform as it gets. So there it is. I love this join. This is called the magic knot. So now that you attach the brand new skein, you can continue with your project. When you get to this part, just knit like normal. It's going to be all good. All right. Step 4 on our little plan here is it's called fixing mistakes. Okay, this I feel like I can't skip this part, because you might be knitting and pretend my scarf's just longer, but this is my sample for now. There's gonna be times where your stitches might fall off your needle. There's going to be times. Let's just assume there's going to be times. So let's say like something happens. Oops. The yarn came out, or the needle came out. Like, it can be very scary, totally, but just put it back in. So what you would do in this scenario is I'm going to put the needle back, or the needle back into all 20 of my stitches so I can keep going. What you don't, so let's say this like fell on the floor, okay, or whatever. It fell and you're like, all right, I'm going to put it back on the needle. Okay, and you start putting, what you don't want to do is, I'm losing. Put it back on the needle, starting with the stitch where the yarn is coming out of, because this is always the first stitch you're going to knit where the yarn's ready to be worked with. I don't want to put it back on my needle and then it's down here, because I need this yarn to be at the tip of the needle. So you do have to be conscious of that. When I put it back on my needles, I have to put it back this way. So that means those stitches you put on first are the ones where the yarn isn't coming out of. So here's the loops. Just start putting them back. Right. All right, I'll get to the center here and then show you. Okay, and just go slow. The thing with knitting too is like, if your needle comes out, it's not going to immediately like start unraveling. So like, don't panic. It'll be okay. There's ways to fix this. what I want to point out is, I showed you a little in the beginning, each knit stitch is a loop, okay? There is a left side and a right side of the loop. These are called the legs. When you put a stitch back in the needle, the right leg needs to be in front, okay? You do not want to put it where the left leg is in front. Hopefully you can see the difference there. The right leg on this side has to be in the front of the needle. If you did it the other way, that is actually called knitting twisted stitches, and it'll change the look of your project. Some people, you can do it on purpose, but for this, we don't want that because we don't want our stitches twisted. Okay, let's put this back through. Okay, so like I get to the end, this is the stitch that I will be knitting with first. So we want that in a position where it's up first. Which means like at the tip of the needle, ready to go, ready to start the next row. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad. Okay, let's do another scenario. Okay, what if you, my needles fell out and then some of the stitches popped off. Okay, how about 2 rows of stitches popping off? This might happen to you and you look at this like, oh my gosh, what happened, and panic. Try not to panic. We'll fix it. Okay, but what you're going to have to do is maybe lose a row or 2. So let's just take out the rows that are messy and then you put the needle back in. So I'm going to unravel. Okay, let's say, because we don't want this. I don't know what to do with it. We're going to unravel a little bit. Okay, oh, cool. Got rid of that big messy loop. I still have one here. So let's unravel until I get to then that next mess right here, I think. Okay, and you know what? And I will take the rest of the row. So we're starting fresh. Let's pop out 1 stitch. Okay, and there we go, final stitch. Okay, see, look at now it's all clean work, but you don't have to panic like I have to take the entire thing apart. You don't. So now, like I showed you earlier, just put the needle back in. And luckily this side is they're going to go on the needle like this. This side is ready to go. The yarn is towards the tip of the needle. I would not want to put it back on the needle, starting with the working yarn side. So same as earlier. Just start putting them on. The right leg needs to go in the front. Right leg needs to go in the front. Okay, so I don't need to show you all that again, but another thing is like if you're like, you look down, you're like, I think I messed up, or I've got some funky stitches down here. Like, I feel like I messed up, like I don't like it, I want to fix it. So just start, you can take your needle off, rip it back. Let's say my mess up is right here. Just unravel rows one at a time until you get to the part where it's gone. You unraveled the mess and you have a nice clean row to continue with. Stop when you're like, okay, I have a row ready to go back on the needles. The issue came off. Put the needles back and just start again from that point. So main goal, you can always fix mistakes. You might have to redo a little progress, but like, it's a lot better than fully starting over. All right. Okay, we're now to step 5, and this is when you are done knitting the bind off. So I know I said, here's my finished scarf. So like here I knit for 70 inches and then I did the bind off. But again, 70 inches is really just a guideline. That's how long I made my scarf, just a suggestion, but if you can knit your scarf however short or long you prefer. So when you're ready to bind off, this is how it goes. So here, we'll just use my swatch, but your scarf's probably real long. All right, so binding off, and we're using a traditional bind off, and this is a pretty basic type of bind off. We're going to kind of knit the final row. We're knitting as we're binding off. So set up your yarn and your needles just like you would start a normal row where your work is on the left. Get that yarn to the back. Okay, so what we're going to do is knit the first stitch and put it on the right needle. Okay, and actually we're going to get this started, we're also going to knit the second stitch so that we have 2 stitches on the right needle. So every time you have 2 stitches on the needle, you're going to use your left needle to take the one on the right, kind of insert into the front, and help it lift over the other stitch and off the needle. So we just bound off that first stitch. So now we have 1 stitch. All right, well, the bind off works when we had 2 stitches on the right needle. So let's knit the next one. Okay, now we have 2 stitches on the right needle. The stitch on the right is going to come over and off the next stitch. Okay, now we only have 1 stitch left, so we gotta let's knit the next stitch. So now we had 2 stitches. We're going to take the stitch on the right, over, and off. Okay, you're going to do this 20 times. Okay, let me just get through this a little bit because then I'm going to show you what happens at the end. Okay, so you can knit along with me at this point because I'm working through the rest of my row. See, so always want 2 stitches on the right needle, and we take the one on the right, lift it over and off. Okay, now there's 2 stitches on the needle again. We're gonna get that one over and off, and as you work, this is what the edge is going to start to look like. It's a little top border of little tiny V's, and it's nice and straight, nice and clean, and it should look just like your cast on edge. Okay, put the needle in the wrong place. All right, I'm just gonna do a couple more until we get to that final stitch. I'll show you what to do. Okay, lift it over and off. Over and off. Almost there. Okay. I got 3 more. 1. Okay, 2 stitches there. Lift the right one. All right, last one. I'm gonna knit it. Okay, do the stitch on the right, over and off. Oops. Grab the wrong one. Okay, over and off. We are done with the left-handed needle. You can just set that down, and we just have 1 stitch left on the needle. Okay, so what we want to do, why don't you stretch this out a little bit, okay, and then you can be done with this needle too. Okay, I got a nice big loop here. You're gonna want to cut this end somewhere, and then this is a similar tail to your cast on. You might have extra, and we're gonna trim them at the end, or actually shortly, because we are at the end. Okay, so just cut it anywhere, and you want to poke it through this big loop. Okay, see, and pull it tight. Pull it tight. It's gonna make like a little knot. You can push it down to secure it. Make sure it's tight and it's not going anywhere. Okay, that is, and if you plan on adding fringe, you can just leave this without weaving it in and hiding it, and we're just going to pretend that's 1 fringe, but we'll trim it. Okay, and in my next video, though, I want to show you, if you're not doing fringe, how to hide these tails. All right, next part of the video, and just finished binding off, this is weaving in the ends with a tapestry needle. Oops. And mine might look different than the one you got in your kit, but they all work the exact same. Okay, let's take this end here. Let's say I'm not making fringe, because otherwise this could just be a fringe, strand of fringe. But no, we're not doing fringe. We want to just hide this. And this, but I'm going to show you a quick way to weave in stitches. This is with any project. Okay, so find the spot kind of where the yarn is coming out of. So that would be like this side, probably, yeah. I'll go on this side. I'm going to weave this in, and you want to hide, so it's, the needle's in. We're going to hide it in between these stitches. Hope you can see. Sorry, it's a little shadowy. So like one row, it's like you have these little bars that are kind of stacked on top of each other, and here's like another row of those little bars. So the one that's closest to the yarn, we're going to go in and out, in, over and under. So this one, the one on the top, we're going to go on the inside. We're kind of sewing, pull that through. Okay, because what we do when we weave in ends, it's mimicking the texture of the knit stitches. And then we go down through this one. Okay, the next stitch, we're going to go up through that one. Okay, my tail's kind of long. That's okay. Down through this stitch, and do this like 5 or 6 times. It's be secure, because you don't have to actually put any knots anywhere. When you weave this, it's tight enough, it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, and then I'll do 2 more. Maybe I'll do a little more than 6. It's all good. Like, I wouldn't just do this like 2 or 3 times. Do a couple just so it's nice and secure. Okay, let's call it quits on that. So it's a little thicker than the row above it because there's another strand of yarn in there, but it does hide it nicely. So this is when any type of knitting project, this is kind of what you do when you want to get rid of your ends. You just want to like camouflage them so they mimic the existing stitches. Okay, so now that's there. And I like to, because you don't want to pull it so tight where it puckers, because then when you don't like yank this, because then when you go to cut it, it'll end up being shorter. So I actually stretch it a little bit so it's like nice and it's like goes along with the consistency of the stitches. And then take the scissors and we can just cut it. Here, try bringing closer. Just cut it at the base of where it's coming out without cutting the other stitches. Make sure you're only cutting the tail. Okay. And then it's in there. So that's nice and hidden. That is how you weave in ends with knitting. Okay, next little video is fringe, and that's the final step. Okay, step 7. This is the final step of this little project, is adding fringe. So here's my finished scarf, and I have the fringe attached. So I wrote on this little sheet that make the strands 10 inches long, and then they get folded in half. So like that was one strand, that was another one. And so if you're looking at this and you think 10's a little long, like go with 8, or it just a guideline. Also at the end, if you can see, I have yet to do this, but like I will run a scissors across and make this like all straight. You can see like mine are kind of messed up. I haven't trimmed it completely, so you can try to just trim the long pieces and give it a final cleanup. So yeah, right. My strands are 10 inches long. Whatever length you choose to cut them at, just make sure they're all the same. Because like I did one strand and then I just like could use that as like the template for the rest of them. So I cut a couple here to show you, but you'll need more than this, and you will have probably like half a skein left of your yarn from this project. With any project, there's going to be leftover yarn. It's never like a perfect exact measurement, but use your extra yarn to like practice some more or whatever you want to do, or save it for another project in the future. Okay, so let's go with, here's like my first strand. This is the edge like that I just wove the end in, so we'll just go on here. On your edges, and do your best here, there's like these little, you want to find like the lowest strand. So like I'm going to just start with, okay, there's like little V's, and this is not like, you can just do your best here. Okay, so I'm going to, let's think about, let's just go in like all of these first loops. If you want to try to get them through like 2 loops, go for it. But actually, you know what? Either way works. Actually, I will try to go for 2 loops. So see, like that V would be 1 stitch. This little V would be the next stitch. See these little holes? This V is in the next stitch. Yeah, go under 2 strands. At first I thought it was too tight, but it'll be fine. Okay, so first V, let's find, that's the hole. Take the halfway point and poke it through under that, like I showed you that little V. So we're going to take this strand underneath, and when it pokes through, hold it so it's at the halfway point. And you can check too, these should be even at the bottom, and we're going to pull them through. Okay, that's fringe number 1. So let's get another one lined up. Fold them in half. You're going to poke like the halfway mark through. So let's go to the next little stitch here. Okay, that's it. That's where my finger is, underneath those. Poke it through. There's my little bubble loop. And you're going to pull the 2 ends through that loop and pull tight. Okay, we'll do like 2 more and then check it out. Oops, gotta get one ready. There's half. Okay, pinch it. That's the halfway. My next stitch is this one. That's the next. So push it through the other side, grab it. Okay. Go slow with this. And technically, since we cast it on 20, there should be 20 pieces of fringe. Sometimes the last stitch is like really tight. So if you only end up with like 19 pieces of fringe, it's okay. It's all good. Okay, here's the next one. Let's just do one more. Okay, so that I did four pieces of fringe. So basically I have 8, right? Because they're doubled. Mine are a little jaggy. I would do this all the way across. And at the end, okay, see, like they're not perfect. Like yarn stretches when you're cutting them all. So like you can run a scissors on and just give it a little trim. And pretend like this is the shortest scarf ever, because I would do fringe on the other side of my long scarf. And at the end, these strands, if you have just pretend that's another piece of fringe and then trim it along with the rest of it. Okay, that is it. That is all 7 steps. Start to finish, a whole garter stitch scarf. I have put bookmarks in, like, you can click on the 7 sections on this video. So if you want to rewatch anything or skip a part that you already know, and then, just watch your leisure, pause, practice. If you're done with your scarf and you're thinking like, okay, maybe your stitches are a little uneven, like that's okay. That is okay. It's a first knitting project. Like, be proud of yourself that you completed it, and with practice, everything just gets better and your hands will get more comfortable and it won't seem so foreign. And as always, like if you have questions or you want me to, specific questions, you need a little bit more help, please stop in the shop and come see me. All right. Happy knitting, everybody.